The Old Testament tells of some pretty dramatic demonstrations of God's power. Take the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt, for example. God caused massive plagues to come upon one of the strongest empires in the world. He turned their water into blood. He sent hordes of locusts, lice, and other pests, and finally carried out the Passover, convincing the Egyptian leaders to free the Israelites from bondage. After the plagues, the greatest miracles were still to come. The Lord led the Israelites through a pillar of fire, parted the Red Sea, and destroyed the army the Egyptians sent to destroy the Israelites. And after the Red Sea, the miracles continued. God gave the Israelites his law, fed them with manna in the wilderness, and even created a way for them to be healed from the poisonous serpents they faced in the desert. For an Israelite, the Exodus was the first story you went to when you wanted to explain why the Lord really was the Lord, and all other gods were just pale imitations. When God led the Israelites out of Egypt and into their promised land, the world came to know the power and goodness of God and the miracle of his deliverance. However, as great as the Exodus was, the prophet Jeremiah foretold that there would be an even greater miracle carried out by God than the Exodus from Egypt. In Jeremiah 16, he prophesied, "Therefore, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be said, The Lord liveth that brought the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, but the Lord liveth that brought the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he hath driven them. And I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers." Jeremiah prophesied of a second gathering of Israel, this time an exodus from the lands of the north and from their scattered and lost status among the nations of the earth. According to Jeremiah, the miracles of this exodus would be even greater than the first exodus under Moses. While the first exodus centered around a small group of leaders like Moses, Miriam, and Aaron, the second exodus would be based around millions of hunters and fishers, seeking out the lost members of the house of Israel and bringing them home by teaching them their true identity as daughters and sons of God. "I will send for many fishers, saith the Lord, and they shall fish them. And after will I send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill and out of the holes of the rocks." The first Exodus consisted of a small number of mighty miracles carried out in a short period of time that freed the Israelites from the bondage of the Egyptians. The second Exodus will consist of millions of small miracles spread out over years, decades, and centuries, while the diligent hunters and fishers of the second Exodus seek out families and individuals who've forgotten their identity as members of the house of Israel. They will also gather anyone who seeks the blessings of Israel, whether they're related by blood or not. It's just a big party, and everyone is invited. Sometimes we can be part of a miracle, but not even realize it's happening. According to Jeremiah, we live in a time when the miracles the Lord is performing will eclipse even the amazing miracles of the first Exodus. The miracles in our time might happen on a smaller scale, but every time we convince someone to come into Christ through baptism, come back to church and worship, or just recognize their true identity as a child of God, it's a little miracle. The miracles of the second Exodus happen around us all the time because we sometimes fail to appreciate what an amazing time we live in and the role we've been gifted to play. We can all serve as a Moses, a Miriam, or an Aaron to the people around us. You can carry out the gathering in word, deed, and thought. If we take into account these millions of small miracles, the power of God is evident in our lives, and even the amazing feats of the first Exodus pale in comparison. Someday, future Israelites will look back and talk not about the Exodus from Egypt, but the great Exodus of the latter days, when Israel fled from the world and came home to the covenants of God.